It's a Monday morning, March the 11th, 2013. Another edition of Weber on Sports, live here on FingerLakes1.com. Good morning, everybody. I'm the host, the Dog H. Weber. And you know, there's a great baseball movie called The Field of Dreams. Ironically, we have a gentleman in our studio on the couch this morning named Mike Fields, the head coach of the Mynderse Academy basketball program. And it's special for myself and Jim since we're both graduates of that school. And first off, Coach, Mike Fields joins us. Mike, congratulations on a great season, and thanks for joining us.
Yes, well, thank you for inviting me. We've had a great time when you come to do the games in the gym, and we appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate being a part of it, and it makes it special for us since we left the halls of Minders Island, went back way back when. Jimmy's not so many years back, but you know, let's talk a little bit about yourself. Mike Fields, our special guest this morning for the entire show. The Mynderse Academy coach, whose team got defeated a couple of days ago, but a valiant season. But before we get into the season and talk about some of the kids, Coach, let's talk about yourself and give our viewers a little checkout as far as where you came from, where you went to school, how you ended up in Seneca Falls, New York, and how you ended up with the Mynderse Academy coaching job. Give us a little background.
Okay, that's a background for sure. I only played high school basketball my senior year. And I was 6'2", 6'3" at the time. And the way it worked back in those days, I'm going down the hall right after football season, and I didn't play any sports. And the head coach is coming down, and he sees me in the hall, and he says, "How tall are you?" And I said, 6'3". And what grade? I said, junior. He says, "Well, we start basketball practice tomorrow night. You be there." And that was it. You know, this doesn't happen anymore. The coaches, and it was a small school, so I played 2 years there, and then I went to Edinburgh, and I played basketball at Edinburgh for 2 years, and then it was overseas in the Peace Corps. But the biggest basketball experience during the Vietnam War, I was in Laos, and I had a State Department grant to coach the Laotian national basketball team.
Wow.
And talk about difference. The country is so poor, and in the middle of a war, the national stadium was a cement court, wooden boards, wooden backboards, and with a tin roof, so the sides were open.
Oh, wow.
And that's what we practiced. But I remember the first day of practice, the players, America's great in basketball, we did everything well, and they asked me, you know, here we go, tell us what the secret is to winning. And we left the basketball court and went over the track, and I said, "You run a mile, and you get in condition before we do anything." And I still think conditioning is probably the most important thing. But what I learned there, and what I always tell the players at the end of the year, the biggest thing is you come through the season healthy, no injuries, no major physical problems, because over there the captain of the team was in the Laotian Air Force.
Wow.
Every morning he would go out in a small T-28 propeller bomber, go down to the Ho Chi Minh Trail, drop 2 bombs, and come back.
Wow.
And right before practice, he would just come down and buzz the stadium. And you could hear the roar, and the kids would, you know, clap their hands. And then that one day, there was no buzz, no plane, and he had been shot down.
Really?
So, and that was the captain. So, and then I just realized it's a sport. Basketball is a sport, but you got to appreciate to keep everyone healthy and be relieved that everyone comes, you know, gets through the season.
So basically, how did that trek make it to Seneca Falls, New York, to where you are now?
Okay, at Edinburgh, I knew Al Best, the girls' coach, and when I finished, I had 4 or 5 years in Southern California as an assistant coach when I retired from Pennsylvania. And I came back here looking for basketball employment, and he told me about the opening here in Seneca Falls, and I came in for an interview twice, and then everything was checked, and then I was hired, and it's probably been one. You know, I've been in Pennsylvania. I had 2 years in Ohio when I was getting my master's degree at Dayton, and then California, but this experience at Seneca Falls is the best.
Now, how many years have you been here as the head coach?
7.
7 years, okay. And basically, give us a little overview, since I've been a Seneca Falls guy, so has Jimmy been all my life, basically. I was born in Lyons, the home of Jim Boeheim, but my parents moved us when I was 2, so I don't recall the move. But primarily, except for 5 years after I married my wife, Mary, I've been a Seneca Falls person all my life, pretty much all my life. What do you like about Seneca Falls, other than the fact that it's a Women's Hall of Fame home? And what do you like about this area?
It's so similar to where I was in Juniata Valley in the mountains, central Pennsylvania. You don't have the mountains here, but you've got the rural atmosphere, the quiet atmosphere. Mm-hmm. The downtown is just picture perfect, and the schools I've been at where sports were successful, the administration kept everything in balance. They kept track of the kids' attendance, grades. Everything was so important at that end. So all those things, and of course you're in wine country, mm-hmm. you're a great restaurant country. Mm-hmm. So everything made this a very good experience.
You've been around the block. You've just talked about some of your background and being a part of different teams in different cities around the world. Do you think a lot of people say, and probably I'm as guilty as anyone, do we put too much effort and too much emphasis on the world of high school sports? Do we put too much pressure on kids to win?
I sense that. It's one of those. I'm not sure. It probably starts when they're very small, mm-hmm. and I've seen when I played high school basketball. There's more shouting now from mm-hmm. the stands. There's more criticism, and I think our teams here have been fast, competitive, and entertaining, and we can go back to the game at Waterloo with Clyde.
Right.
I mean, people can just sit down and enjoy this.
Exactly.
And because there's so much effort from 10 players, unfortunately only one ball, and that's the important thing. And I don't understand it, but people should just relax and enjoy everything.
I agree with that, and I think that's a wish, but it seems like, and as you know, you just coached, you're coaching Mynderse Academy. Mike Fields, our special guest this morning, the head coach of the Mynderse Academy boys basketball program that had a sensational, with a capital S season, defeated a few days ago, but now without a valiant effort. I look at it, football and high school basketball, or high school lacrosse, whatever. As you very well know, Coach, there's only a few kids that are going to make it to the Division I level of the higher end echelon programs. So you're right. They should be playing for the fun of it, obviously for the fan base, but obviously for their families and their relatives to play as good as they can play. I always use the saying, you can't make chicken salad without the chicken. And if you've got limited skills, but you give it, and you're a head coach, you give it your all effort and practice and so forth, that means a lot to you as a coach.
Right, and it's so true here at Mynderse Academy, what the players understand and what we always reinforce. You can have a bad day offensively, and sometimes defense breaks down. But if you're out there hustling the whole time, mm-hmm. people will always see a player. Mm-hmm. And it's that extra activity, that total activity. You don't have to be so talented, but they will know you're a player when you demonstrate that.
You talked about wearing your shirt this morning and referring to the game style that you like to put into effect as a coach. It sounds to me like you like to run with the basketball when you have an opportunity to run with it. You want to get your kids well-conditioned. Is your attitude run and gun when opportunity arises?
Yes, it's when I saw Loyola Marymount back when they were breaking all the records. I watched them on TV. I think they beat a very good Michigan State team, and I said, "Wow, I don't think this is good basketball." Mm-hmm. It's not said, it's not traditional. And then I saw more and more of it. And then when I started coaching in Pennsylvania, we had the guards and the speed, and we had that 8, 9, 10, 11 bench mm-hmm. where you could throw people in every 3 minutes, and everyone's rested, and everyone gets some time. So I took it. It worked very well down there. In fact, we had a coach in the league who, from a bigger school, where Coach Westhead was down giving a clinic, and he said, "This guy's up there using your offense, and what do I do to stop him?" And he said, "Well, if he has the players, you're not going to stop him unless you're faster the whole game." So it worked.
Well, Coach Mike Fields joins us here on Weber on Sports. We're going to take a break and hear from our great sponsors that make this show possible. We'll come back. We'll zero in on, have Mike talk about some of the kids on the team just completed their sensational season. And we'll also preview the Waterloo ladies. They're still in action. They head for the big Final Four coming up this Friday. We'll talk about that as you're checking out Weber on Sports here on a Monday, March 11th. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. It's the Dog H. Weber with you here with Mike Fields, head coach of the Mynderse Academy basketball program, just completing an unbelievable, successful season. You just can't build up on wins and losses. I know the boys from Mynderse had a little bit of lull midway through the season, Coach. They lost a few games. Everybody was panic-stricken, but then they turned it around. And, as I talk about your team, I should not forget the Mynderse Academy girls varsity team, who had not a great regular season. But you know what, Coach? They got into sectionals, and they made a good run, the Mynderse Academy girls team. And I know you want to say kudos to them as well for a great season.
Right. The girls had, it's amazing. They go into some of those games against the big schools,
right,
and lose 20-30. And what do you do? It's not a coaching element now. It's just size. And,
right.
and so, they kept their maturity and composure and used everything they learned from those losses and put it together in the second season. And I always thought the second season was the best one anyway.
I totally agree with you. Look at the NCAA's about to embark. March Madness is close to being the Big East tournament, the final Big East, obviously, involvement of Syracuse as they head out to the ACC will start on, they play on Wednesday. They'll play the winner of South Florida and Seton Hall. They've been stumbling a little bit at the end here. It'll be interesting to see how they do. That's usually been their mecca for outstanding play. As you all know, they've kind of owned the Garden in the Big East tournament for years, Syracuse did. They've taken a lot of those championship plaques away from Madison Square Garden. So it'll be interesting to see if they can turn their program, turn that recent, they're having a little bit of fumbling, bumbling, stumbling, as Chris Berman on ESPN would say. But you never know. Second season amazingly turns teams around. And the question is, does Syracuse have the right ointment to get it going again? Because right now they are struggling.
It's
a weird game.
Yeah, every game is a life in itself, and,
yep,
and you don't know what player is going to step up or what team is going to step up.
Exactly right.
But back to the girls.
Yep.
We played the section championship at the Blue Cross, and they were to play later on that evening, mm-hmm, at Marion against Bishop Kearney. But they detoured their bus and came to our game first.
I heard that, yeah.
And they were there, and it was incredible. When we took the team picture, we were able to get a team picture with us together. And that's now in a trophy case. But, just a great spirit with that team.
It's phenomenal. Speaking of girls, let's not forget, before we get to talking to Coach Mike about the his roster and some of the kids he wants to talk about this morning on the Weber Show, let's not forget, just a couple of miles down the road, Waterloo, New York, I was thrilled to have Lindsey Johnson and Lauren Deming, two of their phenomenal players, join us on the couch where Mike is sitting right now on the show a couple weeks ago. They told me, myself and Jimmy Senecrobi, that they thought they had a possibility to make a run at it. They have the right, and they're young, and they have the right nucleus to make that happen. Well, folks, they have it still going. They're going to go to the Final Four, and that game is going to be this coming Friday as they will take on the likes of Salmon River, 11:45 a.m. this coming Friday. That game will be played at the Hudson Valley Community College. So an early time. Again, get in your cars and head out to Troy, New York. I think it's what, 3-hour drive, Jim? Like 3 hours something? Yeah, 3 hours. But it's worth the drive, and you want to support the Waterloo Indians as they are now in the Final Four. And I know, Coach, you want to send out the best of them as well.
Yes, they're neighbors, and our players know their players, and we definitely support Waterloo, and we wish them success.
So, Coach Mike Fields, Coach, talk about your team a little bit. Look at the roster of the kids that you've been working with this year. I know you got a few seniors that will be departing the program, but spend a few minutes and talk about some of your players.
Well, it's one of the things I was told coming up through coaching. If you want to have a winning team, a championship team, and this was told to me by a state champion coach, he said you definitely need guard play.
Mm-hmm.
And here at Mynderse, we are blessed with guards. I mean, when I first came here, you had David Panucci, Ryan Ellis, and then it just worked all the way through. And we found this guard down in the modified, Brandon Pasalacqua,
mm-hmm.
and brought him up as a starter as a freshman. And so he's been a 4-year starter, 3 section titles, 2 section MVPs. And I think since he's been a starter, and we talk about stress and pressure, I don't know how he does it. We're like 76-10 or 76-11, and give him all kinds of credit. But you need the guard play, and sometimes you have the off guard also, who's tremendous, and we've had that here this year with Jimmy Rickey, who's just dynamite fast, and he bothers anyone on defense, and then he just comes in with a solid offensive effort. And at one time this year in Class C in the state, this is from Max Preps, he was like number 3 in three-point shooting. He had like 60-something already, so he's phenomenal. Now back to Brandon. Brandon, in that same category, Class C, he was number 1 in assists. And you talk about a pure point guard,
mm-hmm.
distribution, he's got it, and then at the other end, he's like 3rd or 4th in steals. And that's the one thing. I haven't seen our game tape of Silver Creek. I got to do the stats on it yet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm waiting. But if I would have done anything to change that, I would have given him a rest on offense and have Jimmy or Jason Anderson bring it up,
mm-hmm.
just so he could rest, because offense and defense, he was just nonstop.
Oh yeah.
But I would have adjusted that. And then the other thing for a championship team, they said that you need 3 big men,
mm-hmm.
because one of your big men will always maybe get in foul trouble with that. So you need someone to come in and not lose pace. And we had big men this year for sure. Connor Miller played great all year, total effort, and Luke Ruddy just kept growing every game. Scoring and rebounding, and of course defense. Back to Connor, in that Class C category, he was like number 6 in blocks in Class C in the whole state. He's always in the lane. He was our backline protector when we were going that full court mayhem. So give credit there. And Jason Anderson, the power rebounder, the 3 guard, he's just another defensive player. So they complement each other so well. And then Jason had that huge basket in the win against Lions, because he can always step in there. He's got great natural ability. So those were the starters, yeah. and they were there even on scoring in so many of the games, all double figures, and each one, I knew any of them could take over a game.
Right.
At any time, they could go to the basket, they could finish. So that made it a very easy to coach group.
Oh, I bet it was. Well, listen, we appreciate that comment, and certainly we want to talk a little bit about, you mentioned you like conditioning, you like run and gun style. As you look at basketball as a whole, do you see the run and gun style being more prevalent in high school basketball versus trying to take the air out of the basketball? Is that something that you see more often, where coaches will try to get their teams conditioned well so they can run and gun where opportunities arise? Because I see some games that when I was doing play-by-play considerably, a lot of teams were trying to take the air out of the basketball because they were worried about run and gun style. They didn't want to have them go the other way.
Right. It's very prevalent, and I saw it in Pennsylvania too with the city schools.
Mm-hmm.
It's much more prevalent. They have 4, 5, 6, 7 people who go coast to coast. And you don't defend that very well. And I know in our situation we were pure run and gun, and then 4 years ago we went to Buffalo, and they had a pure run and gun team. They are a powerful team, and we lost by 40. But I thought our team was great and could even that up, but it didn't work. So this time the Buffalo team comes down here averaging 80 points a game, and I said we're going to just control the clock, and with Brandon and Jimmy and Jason, and the coach from Silver Creek even mentioned that our guards are too slow to be able to do this, but I saw the stat where they averaged 24 points their big quarter, the first quarter, and we held them to 9, and we kept that pace. And I was just amazed that we could go from a run and gun to a control style, and it's the guards' leadership.
And by the way, you being the head coach, we don't want to leave this show without talking about your assistants as well, people that have helped you on the bench, the likes of Bob Ruddy, Nick Ciotti, and Jason Herron. Talk a little bit about your assistants.
Yeah, well, Bob Ruddy is pretty much in control of the conditioning, and he brings some students in at the beginning of the year to initiate that, and it's tough. The players are not used to this kind of strenuous work and intense, but they do it. They don't complain. So he's there, and Nick Ciotti's been with the program all these years also. Tremendous help on the side, and at times I would turn practice, well they do, turn practice over to them, and they will handle it. And Jason Herron and Charlie Foster at the JV level come in and out also. So compliments to the whole staff, and the program is only as good as the feeder program.
That's right.
And now with Coach Bruni at the modified level, boy, there are some players down there. In fact, it's as good as I've seen at that level. So the future looks very solid here.
And by the way, I have had the opportunity of broadcasting some of your games, had the opportunity of being at some of your games. I know Jimmy travels the circuit this year since I've been tied up working part-time in another capacity. The fan base, you got to be pretty happy with the fan base of Mynderse. They do turn out for the school.
People, they're very enthusiastic, and sometimes you see the same faces, and sometimes the faces are already in the stands when the team bus gets there. So
right.
It's been great, and I know it's so important for the players to have the support and I would say it's as good as it gets here with the noise in the gym, and I think our gym is one of the best places to play because we really give it the sound in there, and our players always respond to that.
It's amazing, you look at it and you say to yourself, you pinch yourself on the arm because Mynderse Academy basketball has had some great seasons. I've had the opportunity to cover them for years and years and years, and we were always pretty blessed to have pretty successful programs. And I always take a attitude as well. Winning is great, but it's not the only thing. Excuse Vince Lombardi's line. I don't maybe subscribe to it all the way. I think if kids try their best and give it their best effort, I think the fans, the moms, the dads, the nephews, the uncles, the aunts should be pretty proud of those kids. And I know you as a coach are likewise pretty proud of them as well. As long as you try and give it your 100% effort. You
can't ask for more than that. And talking about that effort, we can't be where we are unless our practices went well. Now, we talked about the 5 starters. We had Jared Coffey come in off the bench as a third big man, and he was instrumental coming off with instant offense and rebounds in our key games. And Liam Carraher comes off. He's just instant off his three-point man. Anytime he got the ball, I expected it to go up, and of course, if it didn't, something had to be majorly wrong. But they were great, and then the whole team, the practices, they all contributed because they had specific roles to play, and they did it with enthusiasm. If you want to mention their names, or
sure. Let's run that down. Let's see. We got Liam Kerr. Liam is a sophomore.
Yes.
Cole Fletcher.
Cole Fletcher, very fast, very hardworking, and very key in practice, defense.
Fletcher Reese.
Fletcher Reese, junior, very enthusiastic, and he's working. He's going to be the three-point specialist also.
And I'll screw up this gentleman's name, Kanjit Baja.
Yes, Kanjit, very colorful player, very enthusiastic, and with all those players on the bench, I think he leads them, jumping up and cheering when the things are going right. Very encouraging player.
Tyler Solon.
Tyler Solon in practice, he's great. He's got the size and body to challenge our starters, and boy, can he shoot the three.
Jared Coffey.
We mentioned Jared.
Yep.
He comes off the bench, very quiet, very hard-working, very tough physically.
And, of course, Zach Bishop.
Zach Bishop, a big boy. We keep him on the low post against Luke and Connor, and he does challenge them.
And, of course, you brought somebody up, Ryan Major.
Ryan Major came up from JVs. He's got great offensive skills, and with all the players there, he listens and just works hard. He's improving his game daily. He's going to have a great season.
We should point out, as great a year we've had at Mynderse Academy, and Mike Fields has been our special guest this morning, we should point out that some of these gentlemen will be departing, heading out to college, hopefully. The likes of Brandon Pasalaco, who's a senior, the likes of Jimmy Rickey, Connor Miller, Kanji Bajwa, and Tyler Solon, all seniors, which, of course, will be moving on to their next phase of their lives.
Right. I don't know. No one is going to fill their shoes. During the sections, the three starting seniors talked to the team before we went on the floor. They all had something to say, Connor and Jimmy and Brandon. So they did my job. They were the motivational part of it, and they were good. They were excellent. All along, they've been role models as to how you act on the floor, and of course, they're good in the classroom.
I was just going to point out, I think you made a good point. I think we don't take for granted. It isn't like a Division I college basketball program where they go on the road for 7 days and play 4 games on the West Coast. But I think people don't recognize that high school students have certain criteria that they must meet to play. They obviously need to have the academics keep up there. And I think, Coach, that I think a lot of people don't realize that you go to school, you go to practice, and then you go home and do homework. I'm sure there's homework still in school. And then all of a sudden, you're on a bus heading, 40 miles away. You're getting back 11, 12 o'clock at night, whatever. And you got to go back to school the next day. So I think I don't want to make this sound like it's painful, but I think people don't realize that these kids are kept busy, let alone the studies involved, and plus the practices that they have to have, and plus the games, and plus the travel.
Right. I don't see how they do it. Of course, they master time management
right.
at an early age, but to go on an away game
right.
and play a tough team,
exactly,
and then to come back with all that still fresh in your memory and then have to do homework,
right.
I don't know how. I don't know how they do it.
I am clueless on it. I always tell the story because I was a lousy student back in the 60s when I graduated. I graduated in 63, and I wasn't an athlete, quote unquote. I went out for track for a while. But I lived with my stepdad, and his rule was it was a school night, you couldn't go out. And I had a hard time opening up the books, and I couldn't get out of the house. And I can't imagine what it would be like, playing sports and being involved in having to go to all these away games based on the schedule that is put out. So it's a tribute to the Mynderse Academy boys team, and it's a tribute to you and your assistants, Coach. Certainly, I want to give you an opportunity before we wrap the show up to give some thoughts and some final comments about the year. I mean, you got to be very happy, very proud of this team. And like I say, they had a little bit of a lull during the regular season, maybe midway through, but they turned it on. And I know, speaking as an MA graduate along with Jim Senecropi, we're very proud of this team, and I know you are as well.
Right. They everything we asked them to do, they did. We had a 10-game winning streak going into this, and during that 10 games, it was mostly defensive emphasis, and we held all the teams into the mid-40s, which is what we want to do at Silver Creek, and came very close to doing it. So they took the defensive emphasis, which you get no credit for, and they worked so hard at that. And I couldn't be more proud of them. And it was just a great season. And as it ended, it was great in the way we finished strong, and we finished as a team.
Well, I want to remind you, and I know that Jim will vouch for me, and I know Coach will as well. If you see a Mynderse Academy varsity basketball player, girls or boys, they've had phenomenal seasons. Go up to them, shake their hand, pat them on the head, tell them great job, because they deserve the recognition and the adulation from all of us. So, superb year, and I know that the program is in good hands. And Coach, I know we thank you for joining us this morning. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule, and thanks for coming in and talking about the team.
Well, it was an honor to be here. It was a treat to be here. And when you're talking about these players, it's easy because it's nothing but positive.
Again, let's show some positive influence to these kids. They deserve a lot of recognition. We hope to have a few of them on as their break comes up in a few weeks. We'll get a chance to get them in here. Hopefully, come in. They can reflect on the year as well. So, Coach Mike Fields is our special guest this morning on Weber on Sports. We appreciate Mike taking time out. Congratulations, Coach. Good luck to you in your future.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, a couple of reminders. Don't forget, Waterloo girls are still in the hunt. The clock is still ticking up in Waterloo, and speaking about being proud for the community, not only here in Seneca Falls, but Waterloo, Clyde, Savannah, Lions, the Romulus girls had a good season. I mean, you can talk about all Section 5 teams. They really reached down and gave that little extra this year. And now the Waterloo girls, and then there was one remaining. They will play at Hudson Valley Community College this coming Friday, 11:45. They take on Salmon River. To Lauren Deming, Lindsey Johnson, and all the girls in Waterloo, all of us here at FingerLakes1.com Sports, wish them the best of luck. Win or lose, I know they'll give it 200%. And a reminder for programming, speaking of programming, it's about time to think about playing some golf. Well, Jim and the board of directors of Seneca Falls Country Club, they have announced that they have hired a new gentleman named Chris Mynderse, who did his job as head pro at Auburn, and I think they call it Lakeview now over in Auburn. He is now the new head pro at the Seneca Falls Country Club. Chris Mynderse will be in for the show next week. That, of course, is on the 18th of March, talking about his vision as he joins the Seneca Falls Country Club as the head pro. Again, thanks to Mike Fields, the head coach here at Mynderse Academy, for a sensational season. Take care, everybody. Get ready. Get your seatbelt ready. We got Big East basketball in New York City, the Big East tournament, and then, of course, Selection Sunday, and then it's March Madness. We'll be back next week for another edition of Weber on Sports. Until then, that's a look at sports my way.